In the shadowy depths of the internet, where anonymity reigns and digital currencies flow like blood through virtual veins, one man's keystrokes would topple governments, destroy lives, and reshape the global balance of power. Marcus Ghost. Chun wasn't just another hacker. He was a digital god who wielded classified secrets like weapons, selling them to the highest bidder on the dark web's most exclusive marketplace. But when you play with fire in the realm of international espionage, eventually you get burned. This is the story of how one man's insatiable greed transformed him from a brilliant programmer into the world's most wanted cyber criminal. Marcus Chun had always been different. While other kids played video games, he was reverse engineering them. By age 16, he had already infiltrated his high school's network, changing grades not for himself, but for the quiet kid who was being bullied. It was his first taste of using technology as power, and the rush was intoxicating. Growing up in San Francisco's Chinatown, Marcus was the son of immigrants who sacrificed everything for his education. His parents worked 16-hour days at their small electronics repair shop, dreaming their brilliant son would become a doctor or lawyer. Instead, Marcus found himself drawn to the digital underground, where his natural talent for coding and pattern recognition made him a prodigy among hackers. After graduating from MIT with a computer science degree, Marcus landed a prestigious job at Cyberdyne Security, one of Silicon Valley's most respected cybersecurity firms. For 3 years, he was the golden boy, identifying vulnerabilities, patching systems, and earning 6 figures, while his parents finally smiled with pride. But the corporate world felt like a cage to someone who had tasted the limitless freedom of the digital frontier. A transformation began innocuously enough. Marcus started freelancing on the side, offering his services to small companies that couldn't afford enterprise-level security. But as his reputation grew in underground forums, so did the complexity and moral ambiguity of the requests. Anonymous. Clients began offering substantial sums for penetration testing. That looked suspiciously like corporate espionage. The first major breach happened almost by accident. While conducting legitimate security testing for a client, Marcus discovered a backdoor into a major pharmaceutical company's research database. The client had specifically mentioned they were interested in a competitor's drug trials, and the connection was too obvious to ignore. When Marcus delivered the data, the payment was more than he made in 6 months at his day job. That night, staring at his bank account balance, Marcus felt something shift inside him. A moral compass that had guided him through his early hacking. Days began to spin wildly. He told himself it was just business. These corporations were corrupt anyway, hoarding life-saving research behind patent walls. He was Robin Hood, redistributing information to level the playing field. Within months, Marcus had quit Cyberdyne and disappeared into the digital shadows. He adopted the handle Ghost and began building what would become the most sophisticated intelligence brokerage operation the dark web had ever seen. Using advanced encryption and a network of proxy servers spanning 6 continents, Ghost created an untraceable marketplace, where secrets were currency and anonymity was absolute. The boy who once hacked systems to help bullied classmates had evolved into something far more dangerous. A man who had convinced himself that his crimes were justified. Operating from a fortified penthouse apartment in Singapore, Marcus transformed into Ghost completely. The apartment itself was a technological fortress. Faraday cages blocked electronic surveillance. White noise generators masked conversations. And multiple escape routes had been carefully planned and rehearsed. Every surface was covered with monitors displaying code, encrypted communications, and the constant pulse of his digital empire. Ghost's marketplace, dubbed the Vault, became the dark web's premier destination for classified information. Unlike crude hacking forums, the Vault operated with the professionalism of a Fortune 500 company. Buyers and sellers were vetted through elaborate verification processes. Transactions were secured through blockchain technology, and customer service was handled by encrypted chatbots that Marcus had personally programmed. The genius of Ghost's system lay in its layered approach to anonymity. Sellers would submit information through a complex network of dead drops and encrypted channels, never knowing the identity of buyers. Buyers, in turn, paid through cryptocurrency mixers that made transactions untraceable. Ghost took a percentage of every sale while maintaining plausible deniability about the content being traded. The types of secrets flowing through the vault were staggering. Military contractors sold weapon specifications to foreign governments. Pharmaceutical researchers leaked clinical trial data to competitors. Intelligence operatives traded state secrets for cryptocurrency. Corporate executives sold insider information that moved stock markets. Ghost had created a shadow economy where information was the ultimate commodity. What set Ghost apart from other cybercriminals was his methodology. Rather than conducting smash-and-grab data heists, he cultivated long-term sources within target organizations. Through careful social engineering, he identified disgruntled employees, financially desperate insiders, and ideologically motivated leakers. He then provided them with sophisticated tools and training to extract valuable information without triggering security protocols. Ghost's recruitment process was masterful. He would identify potential sources through social media analysis, professional networking sites, and public records. A struggling government contractor facing bankruptcy might receive an anonymous message offering financial relief in exchange for consulting services. A research scientist passed over for promotion might find encrypted files in their email, offering them a chance to profit from their own work. The psychological manipulation was subtle but effective. Ghost never asked his sources to betray their countries or companies outright. Instead, he framed each request as a small favor, a minor data point, or a routine document. By the time sources realized they were part of a larger intelligence operation, they were already compromised and dependent on Ghost's payments. Money flowed through the vault like digital blood. In its peak year, the marketplace facilitated over $50 million in transactions. Ghost's personal take exceeded $15 million annually, all hidden through a labyrinthine network of offshore accounts, shell companies, and cryptocurrency wallets. He lived like a digital emperor, surrounded by luxury, but always aware that his empire was built on shifting sands. The irony wasn't lost on him. The boy who had once hacked systems to help others now profited from selling secrets that could destabilize governments and endanger lives. But Ghost had learned to compartmentalize his conscience, viewing his operation through the cold lens of market economics. The first casualty of Ghost's empire was someone he never met, Dr. Sarah Richardson, a biochemist working on classified biodefense research at a government laboratory in Atlanta. Sarah had been one of Ghost's unwitting sources, leaking research. Data she believed was being used for academic peer review. When her work appeared in the hands of a hostile foreign government, the subsequent investigation exposed her as a security risk. Dr. Richardson was arrested, her career destroyed, her family torn apart. She would eventually serve 8 years in federal prison for espionage charges, maintaining her innocence while the real architect of her downfall counted cryptocurrency profits from across the globe. Ghost read about her case in encrypted news feeds, felt a momentary pang of something resembling guilt, then deleted the article and moved on to reviewing the day's sales reports. But Sarah Richardson was just the beginning. As the vault's influence grew, so did the body count. Industrial secrets sold through the marketplace led to factory explosions in developing countries where safety regulations were bypassed. Military intelligence resulted in ambushes that killed soldiers whose positions had been compromised. Medical research data enabled the production of biological weapons that would later be used in terrorist attacks. Ghost had created a monster that fed on human suffering, and he was losing the ability to control it. The marketplace had grown beyond his direct oversight, with automated systems processing thousands of transactions daily. Artificial intelligence algorithms he had designed were now making decisions about which secrets to prioritize, which buyers to approve, and which sellers to recruit. The psychological toll began manifesting in subtle ways. Ghost developed insomnia, spending nights staring at monitors displaying real-time feeds of global news, searching for stories that might be connected to his activities. He began drinking heavily, the Singapore skyline blurring through the bulletproof windows of his penthouse as he contemplated the digital empire he had built. Paranoia became his constant companion. Every knock on the door, every unexpected phone call, every glitch in his security systems sent adrenaline coursing through his veins. He hired private investigators to monitor law enforcement activities, maintained multiple safe houses across Asia, and kept go bags packed with new identities and untraceable currency. The breaking point came when Ghost discovered that classified vaccine research he had sold was being used to develop biological weapons. The buyer, a terrorist organization operating in the Middle East, had used the stolen data to create a modified virus that specifically targeted genetic markers common in certain populations. When the first outbreak occurred, killing hundreds of civilians in a refugee camp, Ghost watched the news coverage with dawning horror. For the first time since building his digital empire, Marcus Chun emerged from behind the Ghost persona long enough to feel the full weight of what he had become. The brilliant young man who had once hacked systems to help bullied classmates now saw himself clearly, a merchant of death operating in the shadows of the internet, profiting from human misery with the clinical detachment of a sociopath. But self-awareness came too late. The machine he had built was now operating independently, and the forces hunting him were closing in from all directions. Intelligence agencies from multiple countries had formed a joint task force specifically targeting the vault. Corporate security firms had pooled resources to identify Ghost's identity. Even rival criminal organizations were beginning to see him as a threat to their operations. The digital god was about to fall. Agent Sarah Kim of the FBI's Cybercrime Division had spent 3 years of her life hunting Ghost. What began as a routine investigation into corporate espionage had evolved into an international manhunt involving 17 countries and unprecedented cooperation between agencies that typically guarded their secrets jealously. Kim had lost count of the sleepless nights, the dead-end leads, and the frustrating near misses that characterized the pursuit of the world's most elusive cybercriminal. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Ghost's own mother, Mrs. Chun, had been receiving anonymous cryptocurrency payments for years, money that allowed her to expand her small electronics repair shop into a modest chain. When financial investigators traced these payments back through the blockchain, they discovered a pattern of transactions that originated from accounts linked to the vault. Ghost had been taking care of his parents without realizing he was creating a digital trail that would lead to his downfall. The boy who had become a monster had never stopped being a son. The investigation intensified rapidly. Facial recognition software matched Marcus Chun's MIT graduation photo with surveillance footage from airports in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Manila. Digital forensic experts analyzed years of communication patterns, identifying linguistic quirks and coding signatures that pointed definitively to the programmer from San Francisco's Chinatown dot. As the net tightened, Ghost became increasingly desperate. He began liquidating assets, transferring millions in cryptocurrency to accounts controlled by criminal organizations in exchange for new identities and safe passage to countries without extradition treaties. But every move was being monitored by agencies that had learned to think like their prey, The final trap was elegant in its simplicity. Agent Kim created a fake persona as a disgruntled NSA contractor, offering to sell classified surveillance protocols. The bait was too tempting for Ghost to resist. The proposed data would be worth tens of millions on the vault when he attempted to verify the seller's credentials through his usual channels. Ghost unknowingly connected to a honeypot server that immediately began tracing his location. The raid on Ghost's Singapore penthouse happened at 4:47 a.m. local time. Coordinated teams from multiple agencies breached the apartment simultaneously, overwhelming the sophisticated security systems that had protected Marcus Chun for years. They found him in his command center, surrounded by dozens of monitors displaying the vault's operations in real time. For a moment, Agent Kim and Ghost stared at each other across the room. She saw a thin, pale man who looked older than his 31 years, his eyes hollow with exhaustion and paranoia. He saw the end of everything he had built, the collapse of an empire that had made him one of the most powerful people on the planet. Ghost's first words weren't a denial or a threat. Instead, he asked, "How many people died because of what I did?" The question hung in the air as federal agents secured the scene. Kim didn't have an exact number. The true impact of Ghost's activities would never be fully calculated. Industrial accidents, military casualties, terrorist attacks, and intelligence operations gone wrong had all been influenced by secrets sold through the vault. The ripple effects of his digital empire had touched every continent and claimed lives in ways both direct and indirect. As they led Marcus Chun away in handcuffs, he caught a glimpse of his reflection in the penthouse's bulletproof windows. The brilliant young man who had once used his skills to help others was gone, replaced by something he barely recognized. The Ghost had been exorcised, leaving behind only a broken programmer facing life in prison. The vault's servers were seized simultaneously across 6 countries, containing terabytes of encrypted data that would take years to fully decrypt and analyze. The marketplace that had facilitated the sale of humanity's most dangerous secrets was finally dark. But the damage was already done, spreading through the world's information networks like a virus that could never be fully contained. Marcus Ghost Chun was sentenced to 5 consecutive life terms in federal prison, with no possibility of parole. The vault's collapse sent shockwaves through the intelligence community, exposing security vulnerabilities that took years to patch, and compromising operations that had been decades in the planning. Today, Chun sits in a maximum security facility, his access to technology limited to a basic tablet used for legal correspondence. The digital god who once controlled an empire of secrets now spends his days in a concrete box, surrounded by the ghosts of those who died because of his actions. His story serves as a chilling reminder that in our interconnected world, the power to destroy lives and nations can fit in a single person's pocket. As we become increasingly dependent on digital systems, the potential for a single individual to cause catastrophic damage grows exponentially. Are you prepared for the next Ghost? In a world where cybersecurity threats evolve daily, staying informed isn't just important, it's survival. Subscribe to our newsletter for the latest insights into digital security, real-world case studies, and expert analysis of emerging threats. Don't become the next victim in someone else's digital empire. Subscribe. Now, your security can't wait.